top left, I think.
Okay, yeah.
All right, here it goes. Oh man, I got to get ready. Welcome once again to the Evolving Analyst Book Review. And we have with us today James Dean, who is one of the authors in the book, The Evolving Analyst. And uh, the title of James's article is The Power of Prototyping, Simplifying Complex Processes Through Visual Collaboration. And it's in the requirements elicitation section of the book. And what James is really talking about, he's trying to emphasize how effective business analysis strengthens decision making rather than simply supporting delivery. And James highlights that the analyst's challenging assumptions and structuring conversations is so that leaders can make very much informed decisions. So, welcome, James.
Thanks, Marcus. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. We got a few questions for you today about your article in the book, and obviously it parallels business analysis. So when did you first see a prototype change the conversation for the business analyst?
Yeah, so I think in my article I talk about working for a registry office, and they have a lot of the company that I was working for at the time. They had a lot of templates that we had to follow for
Mm,
like kind of capturing the requirements or documenting the requirements. And because I was working mainly with like forms, like online forms that we had to kind of put on like some sort of user interface, and then there was a back end system with the forms, there was a lot of data fields, and that's mainly kind of what went into the documentation. But I found that a lot of the forms, like you had like lengthy documents of about like 30 or 40 plus pages, and it became quite difficult to see, what would that look like on the UI? Not as like a perfect solution, but just to give a general kind of idea. So when I started prototyping, I was in a workshop with one of the registry departments. I think it was new companies at the time, and we were going through their specific forms. And I put it on the screen, and the reaction I could just see in people's face straight away. They were like, "Oh my God!" Like we can see kind of what it's going to look like. Now I explained that it could look a little bit different. Like this is just to give you an idea of kind of what it will look like in terms of like, are we capturing the right fields? Or can we go through like the user flow? Is this correct? What happens when we do this? So you're going through your kind of scenario analysis, you're breaking down the different requirements. So I was basically taking the requirements from the documentation and feeding them
mm,
into this process while I was prototyping. And I was getting more kind of feedback and more kind of buy-in from the stakeholders compared to the original way was, oh, we would send the documents
mm,
to a stakeholder group, and then it would have to be reviewed, and then they'd email it back with like feedback. But a lot of the time we didn't get feedback.
mm,
So we kind of were like, oh, can we kind of continue, with development, or do we need like approval or like sign off? And we did need sign off. So that was a way to get sign off. And it was a great way because it allowed us to get that feedback in person from people. But also it gave me a good understanding that what we were doing in terms of the requirements was actually correct. Like it did align with the needs of that particular department group, and that they could actually visualize the entire process like end to end.
mm. So you think that teams resist prototyping, or should I say, why do you think teams would resist prototyping?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people seem to think prototyping is the end solution. So when a business analyst specifically tries to do even a low fidelity wireframe or prototype, they're like, oh, but that's not what it's going to look like, so we can't use that. But they're not thinking like this is a way to be able to see, okay, like how does the user interact, or what will be the user journey, where are the things that could go wrong, or if we have something as a prototype, like a lot of different data on the screen, does it make sense? Like, is this what
Mm,
kind of like our customer or user needs? Not that what they want, but it kind of separates the wants and the needs conversation. And I find it's a great tool just to be able to visualize something rather than looking at a document. Because when you're looking at a document, it's very hard to understand exactly how that will relate to the business needs, but also then how the user fits in to that entire flow. So I think a lot of teams resist it because they just want to jump straight to development, and they think it's going to take too much time or it's going to delay things in the project. But I think it's good because it reduces rework. And I have multiple examples that I've worked on different projects before where if we didn't start with a prototype, we would have been in a worse situation later on because we were able to capture certain gaps or identify the gaps there and then we were able to come up with a solution approach to fix those gaps before we actually went to implementation. So I think if teams kind of look at it at that way, like you're reducing rework and you're actually making sure that what you've kind of designed at a high level is exactly right and it does align with the problem you're trying to solve or the opportunity you're trying to address, then it is for the positive.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think the cool thing about prototyping too is the next project you come into, if there's a prototype you need to use, you can go back to the template you used for the previous prototype, and you don't have to start from scratch, type of thing. If it's similar, you know. Cool. So do you think that a bad prototype has any use?
I think so as well. Like I think, well, it depends what we determine as a bad prototype. I think any type of prototype again gives people an idea of where things could go wrong, or like if you have say multiple screens that you're developing and you put them all into this prototype. If you have an interactive prototype, you can click around the screen and see, okay, does it make sense? Or, oh, maybe we need to from this part over here, we need the user to go here instead. So it gives you the big picture view of kind of what it's going to look like from a user point of view, but also you can use it with your end users. Like I use it a lot in different workshops when eliciting requirements, and it's great because people they they just they want to interact and they want to get involved because they're like, oh, I can see something on the screen. I'm going to be using something on the screen, so they can relate to it. Where if I try to show them like a document or if I try to show them a paragraph of text, I can see them straight away. They just zone out. They don't want to interact. They don't want to get involved. And I can relate because if I was an end user or if I put myself in their shoes, I would be the same. If I
Mm,
can't visualize something on the screen for what I'm doing in terms of my process or the task or whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve, if I can't actually interact with that and I can't see the visual elements and I can't see the data fields and I can't see how it's going to work end to end, then it's not really any use to me. So I think from a bad prototype kind of way, it is good to spot gaps again, identify where things are working and where things aren't working, but then also to gain alignment across all of your stakeholders.
awesome. Cool. I was going to say, I really like this focus on practical behaviors. You know, you're questioning the rationale, you're testing alignment, you're linking analysis directly to outcomes. And I think it really helps to show that real value comes from disciplined thinking, purposeful engagement, and it's not just from producing more documentation, right? You've got something that's visual and something that, you know, in the case of your article, a prototype, and I think it helps the end goal. It helps that bring out that outcome so much more easily. So thanks very much once again, James, for being a contributing author to the Evolving Analyst book. Much
Yeah,
appreciated.
thanks so much for the opportunity.
Oh, you're very much welcome. Have yourself a great day.
You too.